Hello and welcome to Dingoes Ate My Podcast. I'm Paul.
I'm Dave.
And this week we're discussing the episode Shells. This episode originally aired March 3rd, 2004, attracting approximately 3.68 million viewers. Alrighty, let us start off with the number one film in America this week, Dave. Any guesses?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was still the one from last week, being The Passion of the Christ, but also kind of a case of how that all supposedly went down. I don't know if it managed to stay up at the top. Then again, I'm not too sure what else would take its place.
It was absolutely still The Passion of the Christ.
Again, understandable, but also a case of, oh man, that was a thing.
It certainly was. Number one song in America this week, Dave. Any guesses?
Again, nothing immediately comes to mind aside from what was beyond from last week.
Yes, so it is still Yeah by Usher featuring Lil Jon and Ludacris.
Again, it makes complete sense, but also kind of a case of it just not sits in the brain.
I mean, that's fair. So, after this episode, the show went on a bit of a break for about a month, so we're just going to go through and do all the games that came out in March quickly.
Ooh.
Alrighty. So, March 4th, if you're a PC gamer, you could pick up Colin McRae Rally 04. That's a racing game. I'm sure it did well somewhere.
Again, yay. I have no idea what this is.
It's like a rally racing game.
Oh, okay.
March 8th, if you had a PS2, Xbox, or you're a PC gamer, you could pick up a little game called The Suffering.
Because that was a thing.
It was. I know this box art, but I do not remember the game. I never played this game.
Yeah, I think it's one of those cases too. I remember hearing about it, but I did not play it myself.
Yeah. I wonder how it got decent reviews. It might be worth looking into. Oh, there was a film that was never made. Okay. Moving along, March 9th, if you had a PS2, you could pick up Firefighter FD18. That's a firefighting game, it appears. Which, that's kind of interesting.
Concept that could be made into a video game.
Also on March 9th, if you're a PC gamer, you could pick up Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six 3 Athena Sword.
Because, Tom Clancy is the thing.
Absolutely. But on March 9th, really, everybody was going to be playing one game. And that was on the GameCube. Because there was a little game released called Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes.
For the particular people that were like, oh my god, they're re-releasing the first Metal Gear Solid game. And then people being like, is this guy supposedly important? And then the other couple people that were kind of like, I want to play this game, but it's rated M. We want to play this game, it's rated M. It's like, okay.
I mean, it's Metal Gear. It's good.
Indeed.
I do need to actually play the original Metal Gear. Like, I've tried playing the PS1 version, but it is,
You pretty much have your specific bias that it's typical PlayStation Japanese controls, which is not the typical controls that you've worked with.
Well, that, and I don't mean to be a graphics snob, but that particular generation is always difficult for me.
You have a bias. It's all good.
Because it looks terrible. On March 10th, if you were an Xbox gamer, you could pick up a little game called Tenchu Wrath of Heaven.
Yeah.
Which is some kind of like action-adventure stealth game. Which I'm not familiar with, but that is what Wikipedia says, so I'm going to believe them.
Again, I wouldn't be surprised with it, but again, it's kind of a case of the title is familiar, but I can't place any sort of gameplay to it.
Fair enough. March 12th on the PS2, a little game called Seven Samurai 20XX came out, which is a game I'm not familiar with.
I think it's based off the typical old Japanese story of the Seven Samurai, but I think just in a different concept.
Yeah, it's based off of the Kurosawa movie, but I don't know. March 14th, if you're a PC gamer, you could pick up Battlefield Vietnam, which is a game I did play a bit as a kid. Um, eh, eh. I mean, it was a Battlefield game, so you know.
It was. It sounds like it.
March 15th, if you had a Game Boy Advance, you could pick up Wade Hickston's Counterpunch, which is like a cartoony boxing game.
Pretty much taking the concept of Punch Out, but just not using the title of Punch Out.
It's Punch Out, but the characters are more cartoony.
Yeah.
Like Punch Out, the characters are all like relatively humanish. These characters look like there's more of a cartoony bend.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you're not far off on that. March 16th, if you're a PC gamer, you could pick up Unreal Tournament 2004.
Neats.
You've never played the Unreal games, have you? I think I've asked this before. Yeah, okay. The Unreal games are great, but I don't know if they would be for you. March 19th, if you were a PC gamer in Europe, you could pick up a game called Sacred.
Yes, that particular one. Again, I remember the title on the box art, but it's kind of the case of, haha, you tried to make a game, but it did not work.
March 23rd, if you were a PC gamer, oh, did you have a hell of a day. You could pick up Counter-Strike Condition Zero.
As you know, it's a Counter-Strike game.
And if that didn't catch your eyes, also on March 23rd on PC, you could pick up the original Far Cry.
Yes, because that series started around this time.
Yes, and on the same day, if you were a PS2 player in the US, you could finally get your hands on a little game called Final Fantasy XI.
You get started with the MMOs several years after it came out.
Also on the same day, if you were a GameCube player, you could pick up a little game called Mission Impossible Operation Surma.
Yes. Because that was also a thing. They started to bring out particular movie titles and other particular games around that time. And it's like, what is this in some of the kids' cases?
I feel like this one, the Mission Impossible movie, at least one of them was out at this point, so people would have been more familiar with it, but...
Yeah, maybe.
They might have even been 2 or 3 at that point. I don't know. Anyway, also on the same day, if you were a GameCube, PS2, Xbox, or PC gamer, you could pick up a little game called Sonic Heroes.
Yeah, it's a Sonic game where they had the 3 players and it was the neatness.
Yes. Never really been a Sonic guy, so...
Yeah. It's also one of the case of the concept of the game is decent enough, but it was also a decent bit buggy and didn't work as somewhat intended through regular gameplay.
Fair enough. And finally, on March 23rd as well, if you're an Xbox player, you could pick up All-Star Baseball 2005.
Yeah, because everyone needs a baseball game, I suppose.
Yes, this would be the last game in this particular series, though, before it would go somewhere else.
You know, mild sadness.
I think that's when the MLB games became PlayStation exclusive for a really long time. Anyway, moving on to March 24th, if you were a GameCube or PS2 player, you could pick up a little game called Samurai Jack: The Shadow of Aku.
Very much neat.
Did you ever play any of the Samurai Jack games or watch Samurai Jack? Because I never watched Samurai Jack.
I did watch Samurai Jack, and I also played this game specifically, which, with the concept of it, the graphical style matched fairly decently within the GameCube's power range, so it could render everything decently. There wasn't too much issue with it. Again, there was a little bit of polygonal issue with some of the backgrounds and whatnot, but on whole, it worked fairly well, and the concept for the game was very good, and Samurai Jack is good. Go watch it.
I've never seen it. I will consider giving it a try if I can ever find it.
Best of luck to you.
Is it one of those things that's really hard to find because of rights issues or something?
I do not know, but nevertheless, if you have the opportunity and or remember to actually look into it, best of luck to you.
I will see if I can obtain a copy. Moving along to March 31st, if you're March 25th, if you were a Windows gamer in North America, you could pick up Sacred, which had come out in Europe a few days prior.
Guess what?
And moving on to March 31st, if you're a PS2 gamer, you could pick up a little game called Resident Evil Outbreak.
Because, it's Resident Evil with multiplayer and running through a city. Also zombie elephants.
Yes, there was. We have a few games to go in April. So April 1st, if you're a PS2 gamer, you could pick up Destruction Derby Arenas. Which, okay.
It was the thing.
On April 5th, if you were a PC, PS2, or Xbox gamer, you could pick up Alias.
Supposed yay? Again, it's not ringing a bell in my head.
Oh, it's based off of the TV series.
Oh.
It's supposed to take place during season 2 of the TV series. And this is around the time when they started making video game adaptations of like TV shows. Like that became a trend for a while.
Okay.
Because I want to say this is around when they made like 24 the game and stuff.
Yeah.
That was 2006, but that game was, from what I remember, terrible. Moving along, also on April 5th, if you had a PS2 or Xbox, you could pick up Fight Night 2004.
It's Fight Night.
Yes, and the Fight Night games were really good, and I want them to come back.
It would supposedly be a thing. I'm not sure how it would be nowadays, but it would supposedly be a thing.
The thing is, like, EA Sports has not released a boxing game in, like, 12 years. Give us a good boxing game. I want that. Alrighty. Moving on to April 8th. If you're a PS2 player, you can pick up All-Star Baseball 2005. Because
it's a baseball game.
For some reason, Xbox got it like 2 weeks before. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. April 12th, if you're a PC gamer, you could pick up a little game called Painkiller.
Oh, is it yay?
Some kind of first-person shooter I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
Moving right along to April 12th as well, if you were a Game Boy Advance player, you could pick up Serious Sam Advance.
Oh, okay.
Are you familiar with any of the Serious Sam games?
Like a little bit. Supposedly it's interesting, but also mildly insane. And I question why the heck it's on a Game Boy Advance.
Well, like a bunch of those first-person shooters got moved over to the GBA. Like they did, like there's a version of like Doom, and I think the original Wolfenstein. There were a few that got like Game Boy Advance versions.
I question why in some cases, but again, I think it was just something around the time.
I think it was also like it was easy to port Doom over to like the GBA, and you could reliably make money off of that.
I suppose that's true. All I need to do is to get it on a toaster.
I mean, Doom runs on everything, David.
True, along with the 3,527 other things that they've managed to.
And finally, on April 13th, if you were a PC or Xbox gamer, you could pick up Toka Race Driver 2. I think I'm pronouncing that right, but I have no idea, because it's to do with a racing game, and I don't really play racing games unless they are called Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
Or Burnout. Burnout is the other one. Anyway,
Definitely.
moving along to the episode. Alrighty. Well, so this is certainly an episode. So Wesley thinks that Fred is alive, if a little blue, but suddenly he realizes that she is Illyria. She turns and is shocked that Wesley dares speak her name. He mentions Fred, and she tells him that Fred doesn't mean anything to her. He picks up an axe and hits her with it, but it shatters on contact. Illyria remembers Fred and states that that is the shell she's inhabiting. Wesley tells her that Fred was the woman Illyria killed. Illyria mentions grief and how disgusting it is, so Wesley tells her that if she stays, she will always feel it. He explains that Earth is ruled by humans, and if she leaves Fred's body, she could come back later when humans have all died out. Illyria realizes what he's doing and tells him that he seeks to save what is rotted through. She then throws him across the room and says that if humans are in charge, she has a lot of work to do. Because,
boy.
She's a nice person.
It's a demon with a supposed plan, which is not exactly the best thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's... Oh, boy. Yeah. Anyway, moving along. Spike and Angel fly home from England. Spike trying to get drunk on the tiny bottles of booze. He tries to comfort Angel by reminding him that if they'd saved Fred, thousands of people would have died. Probably more like hundreds of thousands, if not millions. Which Fred wouldn't have wanted. Angel asks what the word gone really means, since in their world, people don't always stay dead. The body houses the soul, so as long as that is still out there, there is hope for Fred. In Gunn's office, he has beaten and tied up Knox. Harmony wants to help, but Gunn says that this is personal. Wesley arrives, and Gunn tells him that Knox was involved in what happened to Fred. Wesley announces that she is gone, so Knox starts laughing, pleased that his plans went through. He tells them that he loved Fred, and that's why he chose her for his goddess. She is so much more now, and is lucky to have been sacrificed in order to bring Illyria forth. Wesley points a gun at him and verbally blasts him. Angel and Spike return in the midst of this and agree with the group that it's time to get Fred back. The team gathers in Angel's office and are filled in on their trip to the deeper well. Lorne blames himself for not seeing anything when he read Knox, but Angel says that he couldn't have stopped what happened unless they didn't come to Wolfram at all. Lorne apologizes and leaves. Gunn agrees with Lorne that they should have seen this coming, but Angel points out, according to Drogon, the sarcophagus was predestined to be released. Gunn mentions that Knox told him someone signed the sarcophagus out of customs. Wesley isn't happy that Gunn isn't doing more, and when Angel tells him that they need to stay on top of things for Fred's sake, Wesley says that she's gone. Spike says that Illyria only took over Fred's body, her soul is still out there, which is all that matters. Angel assures Wesley that they'll find Fred's soul and return it to her body, then get revenge on anyone who was involved in what happened. The team brainstorm on who to get to help them, and Wesley mentions Willow, who's in South America. Angel says that he'll track her down, but in the meantime, they have to keep Illyria contained. At that moment, Illyria grabs Knox from Gunn's office, smacking Harmony aside so that she can make her exit. Illyria heads down to the lab and studies her sarcophagus, while Knox talks about how much he's loved her since he was 11. She mentions that he's her, and I'm going to butcher this, Kwahan-san, her guide in this world. He then shows her how he's followed the ancient ritual of sewing her sacraments into his body close to his heart. Illyria is disappointed that the world has changed so much since the last time she was in it, and Knox lants that there's not much he can do about that. Illyria says that she can do something to change it. She rips her clothes off and touches the sarcophagus, and a bodysuit of armor is formed around her body. Angel tries to contact Willow from his office, but learns from Giles that she's in the Himalayas and on another astral plane. Before being put on hold, Wesley apologizes to Gunn for taking out his anger on him earlier, noting that Gunn has done everything he can. Giles returns to the phone, and after confirming that Angel still works for Wolfram and Hart, refuses to help. In response, Angel flings the phone against the wall. Harmony arrives and tells the group that Illyria grabbed Knox and took him somewhere. Before Illyria and Knox can leave the building, the gang arrives with a fully armed security team. Illyria notes that Angel is a warrior, not being sure there were any left in the world. The team start to fight Illyria, but she tosses Angel out a window and slows down the time continuum so that she and Knox can escape. By the time Angel hits the ground, the two are gone. The team regroups, and Angel says that he doesn't think Illyria will be back since she has Knox now. He isn't thrilled that Illyria appears to have super strength and the ability to alter time.
What, too?
Sorry?
Just a quick little thing on my end. I didn't hear you speaking. I'm not sure if you got caught.
Oh,
recording on your end.
Where did you not?
Is following along right. It was around when the strike team was attacking Illyria.
Okay. I will have to find where that is. Um, um, Oh, okay, here we go. Before Illyria and Nox can leave the building, the gang arrives with a fully armed security team. Illyria notes that Angel is a warrior, not being sure there are any left in the world. The team starts to fight with Illyria, but she tosses Angel out a window and slows down the time continuum so she and Nox can escape. By the time Angel hits the ground, the two are gone. The team regroups, and Angel says that he doesn't think Illyria will be back since she has Nox now. He isn't thrilled that Illyria appears to have super strength and the ability to alter time. Wesley and Harmony head to the science lab to look for anything in Nox's files that could help. Gunn goes to speak with his contacts, and Angel and Spike go to look for Illyria. In Angel's office, Spike asks Angel if he could tell that Illyria was there at all because he couldn't tell that Illyria was there at all because she had no scent. Spike begins to voice the possibility that Fred is really gone. Angel states that he lost Cordelia because something crawled inside her and used her up, so he won't let that happen to Fred. In the science lab, Harmony looks through Nox's things as Wesley stares at the sarcophagus. He talks about how Fred was just curious, and that's why she didn't put it in containment first. He states that he hates her a little for being so curious. Wesley smashes the sarcophagus with a pry bar and then takes the crystal from it. Harmony finds Nox's cell phone, which has all the call records wiped, but points out they couldn't have deleted any missed calls he's had after leaving it. Wesley discovers that he's had 3 missed calls in the last few hours, all from the same person. Gunn pays a visit to Dr. Sparrow, demanding to know everything the doctor does, and demands to know everything the doctor knows about how to bring Fred back. Sparrow says that it's impossible. Gunn had his permanent legal upgrade because he signed the sarcophagus out of customs. Gunn tells him to take back all of the legal knowledge and bring Fred back, but Sparrow says that there's nothing to bring back. Her soul was destroyed in the fires of resurrecting Illyria. Sparrow tells Gunn that he made a deal and needs to live with it. The doctor starts to leave, but gets knocked out by Wesley, who points his gun at Fred and asks if there's anything he wants to say. Gunn finally reveals that he signed out the sarcophagus but didn't think anyone would get hurt. Wesley blasts him for not remembering that nothing from Wolfram and Hart is ever free. Gunn says that he couldn't just stand being the muscle. He knew there would be a consequence, but didn't think it would affect any of them. As he puts his gun down, Wesley says that he can understand not wanting to go back and wanting to be someone else. He then stabs Gunn in the gut with a scalpel and says he can't forgive that Gunn didn't say anything while Fred was dying. Back in Wesley's office, Angel slams Wesley up against the wall and asks him to explain his actions. Wesley says he didn't do much damage and Gunn should be fine. Wesley tells Angel that Fred's soul was destroyed and there's nothing they can do. He reveals Gunn's part in what has happened and says that he let her die. Angel tells him about the circumstances Drogon mentioned at the Deeper Well, revealing that Fred could have lived if Angel had let thousands of others die, but he wasn't willing to do that. He asks Wesley to put aside his feelings to focus on dealing with Illyria. Spike arrives, having interrogated Sparrow, and says that he got the name Hanash out of him. Wesley discovers that this was Illyria's temple and the location where she was supposed to be resurrected. She was entombed with an army that's supposed to be waiting for her to return to Los Angeles. Wesley says that it's still out there, just in a different stream of time that only Illyria can get to. Illyria breaks into a bank with Nox. She attempts to open a portal but realizes that the gateway is blocked. Nox says that Wolfram and Hart probably did something to keep it closed, but he has a way to open it. Harmony visits Gunn in the hospital room, giving him some papers to sign, relieving him of any more responsibility at the firm. Harmony wonders how he could hurt his friends the way he did. Gunn says that he was weak and wanted to be someone he's not. He adds that it doesn't really matter anyway, since Fred is gone and isn't coming back. At the bank, Nox performs a spell, finishing up as Angel, Spike, and Wesley arrive. Angel tells Illyria that she has a lot to pay for. Top of the list being the fact that she's walking around looking like Fred. Nox tells them that they can't win this battle, but Wesley is willing to die trying. Angel doesn't want any more innocent people to die, and Illyria confirms that Angel is willing to be the warrior for the innocent, even Nox. Angel says that Nox may be scum, but he's still human, and Angel has to fight for every person. Wesley then saves him the trouble by shooting Nox dead. Illyria tells them that she is bothered that he would think that Nox's death matters to her at all. The team starts fighting Illyria, who beats them easily, until Angel pulls out the crystal that Wesley grabbed from the sarcophagus. Illyria opens a portal and runs to her temple, followed by Wesley, who makes it before it closes, and Spike and Angel can't join them. Illyria tells Wesley that he's too late to defeat her since her army of doom will be brought forth, but she soon notes that her army is long dead. She's upset that her world's gone, and Wesley replies that now she knows how he feels. She opens a portal and heads off somewhere. Wesley comes back through the portal to the bank. Back in Angel's office, Spike is satisfied that they didn't have to fight Illyria's army. Angel says that they need to close the portal to the temple, as well as make sure that Illyria doesn't cause them any more trouble. Spike decides that he'll stay in Los Angeles, since that's what Fred would have wanted. Wesley packs up Fred's office as Illyria notes that he's grieving for one person. She says that this place was a part of her shell. She tells Wesley that there are still fragments of Fred inside her so that she can remember parts of her. Illyria uses Fred's voice to ask, "Please let Wesley, why can't I stay?" Wesley tells her to leave, but Illyria says that she has nowhere to go. She's stuck in the world now and needs his help to learn how to live there. Wesley says that if he helps her, she has to change and stop killing people. She points out that he killed Nox, so Wesley said that Nox killed Fred. However, she agrees to help Illyria because she looks like Fred. Illyria asks if there's anything in life other than grief, and Wesley replies that there's love and hope, as well as the possibility of being surprised. Is that enough to live on, she asks. Gunn, Harmony, Lorne, Spike, and Angel grieve for Fred on their own, thinking about the impact she had on their lives. In the lab, Wesley packs up Fred's things, including her stuffed bunny, Feigenbaum, while Illyria looks around Fred's office. Years before in Texas, Fred packs up her car, says goodbye to her parents, and heads to LA. So, what do we think of this episode, Dave? Yeah.
It's at least interesting. They show up what Illyria can kind of do with her specific abilities, as well as kind of give send-off as well to Fred within the episode.
Yeah.
And it ties up most of the particular things just still. And it also works a little bit within Gunn's perspective of he wanted knowledge for this and signed the thing, but didn't really see the repercussions until they happened, and it's like, oh god.
Yep. Yep. So I'm not sure if you noticed, but there's a moment where Spike says something to the effect of that him and Angel both feel that there's a fight coming bigger than Illyria. I wonder what that's foreshadowing.
Oh, yay. Yay.
Yeah, so after this episode, we only have 6 left in the series, Dave.
Oh, there we go.
We're getting to the end. Do you have any ideas where we're going? Like, what might be the end point of the series?
And it could be a multitude of things. Again, with what we have at the very least, it's just kind of the case of there's Angel's crew and there's Wolfram and Hart. There's Illyria, but she sort of seems to either be building to be a character within the story, but doesn't quite seem to either have a plan or a big, I'm going to be the big bad of the story sort of thing. So as it sort of sit with just story-wise and a couple things that are around, the only thing I can really think of would be something that Wolfram and Hart supposedly has planned.
Yeah. Oh boy. Let's just say there's going to be things happening.
Isn't there always? It's just kind of the question of how severe.
Oh, pretty severe. Anyway, let us move on to some international titles. So in Czech, this translates as repository. In Finnish, peelings, which, in French, it's just shells, and there's a few others that are like the shell or shells, and I'll just skip over those. In German, it translates as human world.
You know, the place they live in.
And in Hungarian, it translates as the resurrected demon.
Was it resurrected? It's just kind of the case that they gave it a new body.
It's sort of resurrected, I guess. It was like buried and stuff, so
Eh.
I don't know. And finally, in Spain Spanish, it translates as the carrier. Yes. So, boy. So the next episode we will be discussing is a little episode called Underneath.
Oh boy.
I love how the title, you're just like, oh shit. This isn't going to be good.
Because it says it with that, and it's just kind of the case of, there's a couple ways it could be taken. Not a lot of them are good.
Yeah, not so much. Hoping that Wesley has information on the senior partner's ultimate plans, Angel, Spike, and Gunn track him down in a bizarre and terrifying suburban hell. Meanwhile, a nearly invincible stranger sent by the senior partners infiltrates Wolfram and Hart looking for Eve.
Oh, okay. We're starting to lose characters, so we might as well look into the other characters we have supposedly available.
Dave, I'm going to warn you right now. Don't say that we're going to lose characters. You're going to regret that.
Oh, I'm not surprised. It's just kind of the case of who are we losing?
Oh, boy. Well, I guess you'll have to find out over the next 6 episodes. So,
Hooray!
until then, I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.